I was so excited for Kerbal Space Program 2. It was pretty. It was meant to be a better, bigger version of the game that came before it. It promised multiplayer. But it didn't take long until those dreams were dust. Like so many rockets or rocket cars before it. When those dreams die, it hurts, and it's easy to deny yourself the joy of excitement to avoid that pain again. But having said that, I've been mucking around in the pre-alpha version of Kitten Space Agency, and I think I'm ready to be excited again. Kitten Space Agency, or KSA for those of us not as enamored by cats as the rest of the internet, is being built by Rocketwerkz, the same company that brought us Stationeers, aka HVAC, the game. Presumably having learned the pains of Unity from their time in Stationeers, KSA is being built in a custom engine/framework from the ground up, so the well-known Unity physics shenanigans will be no more, which means we'll have to find some new shenanigans. In the version that I've been playing for the last couple of days, it's quite bare bones. In their own words, this is an early pre-alpha build, so I expected even less than what's there, largely because I didn't expect there to be tooltips or any guidance as to what the buttons do, but there actually is. This was especially handy for me because I'm not sure I would have been able to decipher all the different RCS control headings without it. So, what's in the game at the moment? It's a full-scale, real solar system. You know, Earth, Moon, Mars, the usual suspects. This is apparently a test setup for the game engine, making something as big and as detailed as they can in order to push the reasonable limits of what they've made. So apparently it made sense to grab the high detailed maps that already exist of things in our own solar system and use those. So you've got super high detailed planets that you're testing with. When you load up the game, you begin in control of a little, yet very powerful, overpowered rocket that looks a lot like the Apollo CSM. The game already has a fairly robust maneuver node planner where we can do all the usual things, but one of the things that I noticed quite quickly was that we can also automate our burns. Click arm, click warp to burn, and it will burn exactly as you planned. There's something else that's quite cool though, which is you can burn, you can use your RCS thrusters, and rotation still happens at ultra high warp speeds. So you can actually do your burns, if they're a long burn, at 30 times speed, 60 times speed, 600 times speed. May not be recommended, but it works. As we approach the surface of the moon, you can start to see where some of the rough edges are around here. I mean, there's the obvious stuff like the tiny font in some of the windows that are completely resizable, by the way. All of the HUD elements, movable, resizable, you can change them. But you'll also see that as we get very close to touchdown, touchdown happens not quite where it looks, and there's this shimmering effect on the planet surface that is related to parallax mapping, I believe. Basically the technique to try and get the detailed elements that are here so that they're done in a very performance-friendly way. However, it is currently not quite working out, and it'll be cool to see this improve over time. But I've just wanted to kind of show not just all the good cherry-picked bits, but also show some of the rough edges that very clearly demonstrate that this is still a very early build. Having said that, there is something else cool that I want to show you right now, which is the transfer planning window. This allows us to select a destination body, let's say Mars, and then we click calculate. And this is going to give us a whole bunch of information to try and plan the optimum path for our rocket to take to get to Mars. We can go for best transfer, best delta V, best closest approach. We get this pork chop plot thing. I don't really understand yet, but I'm going to have to learn because apparently these are really useful for figuring out exactly when you want to do your transfers. Or where? I'll figure it out some point, I'm sure. But I've seen some very clever people be very excited about these, so I'm just going to trust them. If you can explain these to me, please do. I briefly mentioned before that all of the UI elements are completely alterable. You can drag them around, you can resize them. Thankfully, at the moment, they do reset when you reload the game because you might end up putting them in ways that really don't quite work or that slightly break it, as I've just done there. I think I might have broken my nav ball. Yeah, you can move all these things. And speaking of the UI, you can do things like this, where we go add a camera. And then I can make this camera follow my rocket. So when I move around in here, it's going to show up there. But also when I move into my map view, it keeps showing my rocket. We don't see any of the thruster effects. We don't see any of the atmospheric effects. So you won't see things like the clouds. So it is going to be a lower quality thing, but that's kind of what I would expect for a secondary camera window. I think they're most likely to be useful for things like being in map cameras when you're looking at your vessel in the main view. At least that's how I think I'm going to use them. Now let's talk about what's missing. There's obviously no space center, no parts, no science mode, anything, career mode, anything like that at this stage. There's also none of the thing that gave Kerbal Space Program its charisma. There's no astronaut. There's no thing for you to get attached to. And the thing that maybe we'll be getting attached to is this. A kitten. I'm going to try and keep an open mind about this one. We'll see how it goes. I do like the art direction so far. There were some directions this could have gone that I'm glad it didn't. And so I think there's a chance this could work. I think I could be both saddened but also amused by the likely frequent fiery demise of these little guys from poor staging and other things. One other thing that they have mentioned, but obviously isn't in, is multiplayer. It's been mentioned in the way that they've been planning on it from the outset. So they have all plans around how to make it work. And so that hopefully means that maybe we'll eventually see rockets with friends. Please, 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 please let it happen. Much as I had a lot of fun with the multiplayer mods in KSP, they weren't exactly reliable, even on a LAN. So I'm very interested to see how that part of this plays out. Normally when I talk about future plans of a game, I have to remember to say something about only buy the game based on what's there right now, not plans or hopes that have been expressed. Just what's right in front of you. But since KSA is planning to be free and supported by direct contributions from those who already appreciate what's been made, if they stick to that plan, once it's more widely available, anyone can just try it. And if it's good, then send money. So we'll see if that plan plays out, and it'll be interesting to watch. But overall, it feels like what Rocketwerkz have put out there at the moment is what I think many of us would have liked to see from KSP2 maybe 1 or 2 years before their early access launch, which is to say an improved physics simulation that's trying to do the things that KSP couldn't, wrapped up in a pretty shell that's showing the signs of being able to be the game we want it to be. I, for one, I'm ready to be hopeful. It's going to be a fun ride to see where KSA goes. And if Rocketwerkz can pull off the spiritual successor many of us will be hoping for.